Christi here with Little Salty Homesteader. Welcome back to my YouTube channel and welcome out into my garden. Today I am back with another weekly update. I am moving a little slow because I did hurt my back a little bit, tweaked it, but let's go ahead and get started and let's see what's going well and maybe see what might be fizzling out. All right, as usual, we are starting over here in the tomato patch. There's not a whole lot that is different, but things have certainly grown a whole lot since last week. Over here in this bed where we have all of the different eggplants, there are some more baby eggplants that are growing here. This guy is starting to put on some pretty good size. There's some more of the Black Beauty eggplant down at that end that are starting to grow. We have Brussels sprouts that are all doing really well, and then there's cabbages down the middle here, and then there's a few straggler Chinese cabbages left, but something has been de-leafing them, so there's not as many of those as what got transplanted in. Overall, this bed is looking really full of life. Here we go. Here's another eggplant. This is the Listada de Giandia, I think is how that is pronounced. So anyway, yes, overall this bed is really lush and green and full of life. Lots of things growing. Like I was saying, eggplants galore. There's one there, and then there's a pretty all right sized one right there. This basil, I still haven't cut it down. It's still just massive and beautiful and bountiful, and there's bees really attracted to it. So I'm just gonna leave it for them for a little while before I cut it down. This middle bed here, this one, the broccoli that is along this side, and then the cauliflower that is down the middle, both have put on a ton of growth within the last week. So show you how big some of these broccolis are getting. And I am a little concerned because it's been quite hot this week. I'm a little concerned that these are about to bolt, but it's gonna cool back off next week, so hopefully they'll pull through and they'll be all right. But yeah, you can see they're putting on quite a few leaves, quite a bit of height. The broccoli and cauliflower that was, the broccoli that was transplanted in last week is looking really good. We still have carrots that have germinated, and those are looking really good. So overall, this bed is doing really well. I did come through and chaos sow some lettuce and spinach seeds down this entire bed. I decided that I wanted some homegrown lettuce, and rather than start it inside and try to figure out when to transplant it properly, I just chaos sowed a bunch of lettuce seeds, and it's starting to germinate in a few places. There's another one. So hopefully we start seeing more lettuce sprout soon. So that's pretty exciting. Also, these tomato plants are in this bed, and I did notice whenever I was watering that there are some baby tomatoes. So there's one, I believe that is the porter plant. If it is, that was my most prolific plant this year. Yes, that's the porter. There's some more on this side here. So it looks like this one is gonna have some more fruit set. I don't know if the others will. There are blooms on them, but like I said, it's been really hot this week, so I mean, I don't know if these blooms are just gonna fizzle up and fall off, or they're gonna set their fruit, or what. This one is an Arkansas Traveler, I believe. Porter, Louisiana, no, this one's the porter. I don't know what this one is. This one is the Eva Purple Ball. This one is the Louisiana Pink, and this is Super Sue here. So between all of them, there's a lot of blooming happening, a lot of really healthy leaf growth. And last week I found a couple of hornworms, which you can see where they really went after this plant, but it didn't seem to phase it much. I found them in time before they decimated the entire plant, so. He found a grasshopper. Did you get it? Did you get it? He did not. Anyway, we shall see what happens with the tomatoes here. Hopefully we get several more before the first frost comes in November. Plenty of time. This basil, I believe, is the purple opal basil, and it's doing really well. This one I transplanted in July or August. I can't remember the exact date. So it is just now starting to go to seed here. It's still perfectly usable. I need to make pink lemonade with Lily because that was the whole reason why I grew that one. All right, over here, this is where the leafy greens are starting to be transplanted in. These variegated collards have been here for 2 or 3 weeks now, and they are doing absolutely wonderfully. This would be a good time to harvest them if you want like tender young baby type greens. I'm just gonna let them keep going. And then we have I think this might be Alabama blue collards right here. These are also looking fairly good. And then there's also Georgia in amongst these purple hull cowpeas. If I can get to them right there. There's 2 or 3 plants in here, and then this mystery plant right here. Mystery plant, the seed was mixed in with the Georgia collard seeds. I don't know what it is. It looks kind of like mustard greens, but we'll see as it continues to develop. Obviously, these purple hull peas are doing really well. All of a sudden, they just put on a ton of growth, and they're growing out of the sides of the beds and everywhere, and there's a ton of peas on them. So I'm going to definitely get several more purple hull peas out of here. This one can actually probably be harvested today, so I'll come out here and do that. And then Wednesday, I believe, I transplanted in some blue scotch kale here, and then this is the Nero di Toscana, I believe, kale. These right here, also known as dino kale. It will get quite tall and look kind of like palm trees, but the kale and the collard greens are both incredibly cold tolerant, so I should be able to grow everything in this bed with very, very little frost protection, because they will be frost hardy down into pretty cold temperatures. The other 2 beds I'll need to protect sooner, which is perfectly fine. I have also direct sown some spinach seeds in here, but they have not germinated. So hopefully the ones that I chaos sowed over there do germinate, so that I'll have some fresh spinach, because so far none of them have germinated. I did get some cilantro germinated though, so that's exciting. We'll have fresh cilantro. Right, over here, nothing really has been changed by my hands. The okra is still doing magnificent okra things. I have not harvested yet today, so you'll see some that is mature and needs to be harvested. I'll get out here in a little while and do that. I may actually wait until the kids are home to help me, because all of the bending and stretching is really painful for me today. So I'll just recruit their help. This is more purple spinach. I mean, it's not spinach. This is more purple basil, and I just love the color dynamic against all of the green. It just adds the perfect touch of color in here. There's not really any plants that have been removed out of this bed. However, there was some wind damage done to this bell pepper plant. You can see the wind knocked this whole branch over and broke it off. It did have like 4 bell peppers on it, so I'm sure the weight contributed to that factor, and I haven't been very good at providing these peppers much support. So I'm not super surprised. I went ahead and harvested those peppers. They're inside waiting to be turned into stir fry or fajitas or something. Squash is doing all right. It's still growing. I haven't seen any danger bugs for that plant, so that's really good. Everything else is still doing really well. This basil back here, let me get back here into this jungle instead of trying to stretch. This basil right here is starting to bolt, and it's very beautiful. This is the cardinal basil, so it has red, or like very dark red, burgundy-ish flower heads. The bees absolutely love it. The basil itself tastes really good. We've been using it for pizza. So I will definitely continue to grow cardinal for the beauty and the flavor. You can see here where there's still just crazy amounts of bell peppers growing on these plants. Now I did harvest some that were turning red. Those I will dehydrate and turn into paprika. Okra, more ready to be picked and more blooming and more about to bloom. So we will consistently have okra for a little while longer. This bed, let's see. Last week, I think that the Clemson spineless were still in here. I did cut them down because they were starting to get sick with some sort of fungus. The leaves were just like turning brown and dying off. So I cut those plants down, which really cleared out the whole bed. This zucchini has put on a bit of growth since I did that. Looks like I have some powdery mildew going on. I need to come address that. But this Ajvarsky plant, the wind damaged this one too, and it damaged this one, but I haven't cut this off yet. I need to because it doesn't look super great. I don't see any peppers on it, so yeah, I'll just grab my pruning shears and snip that off, and we'll just let it bush out down low and see if we can get some more Ajvarsky peppers to grow from it. Back here where this big bare spot is, I chaos sowed in quite a few of root vegetables, anything from beets to turnips, carrots, and radishes. You can see where those are also starting to germinate a little bit. Trying to retain the moisture in this bed has been a little bit difficult because it does get so much sunlight. So I am struggling with trying to keep the soil moist enough for seeds to germinate. But at least we have a little bit of life happening in here. This is the Purple Ruffles basil, and it was actually quite shaded for much of the growing season. So now that it's getting sunlight, it is starting to put on new growth. So we should start to see a healthier basil plant, because right now it looks kind of scraggly and wonky. There was a big blue spice basil here, and it was kind of crowding out this Spanish lavender, and that's why the Spanish lavender looks terrible. And it was crowding out this Purple Ruffles basil and whatever this plant may be. I'm thinking that might be a profusion zinnia. So hopefully we get some blooms on that soon. And this is the stump from last year's okra. I let the roots break down to contribute to overall soil health, and it was finally at the point where I could just break it off. So I'll just throw that in there for now and clean it up later, or just let it break down. That's what I try to do with most of the plants that I cut down or get rid of, unless they're super sick. I just let them break off, I just let them break down into the soil. It helps with aeration in the soil, putting nutrients back into the soil, and feeding the microbiomes that are in the soil. So unless the plant was super sick with blight or I had awful pest issues, then I'll just let it break down. If it was sick or had awful pest issues, then I will pull it up, roots and all, so that those roots don't add sickness and more fungus back into the soil. Okay, the sunflower patch is starting to, I guess, slow down a bit. It's starting to dwindle down, get a little sad. These guys are leaning, and that's a pretty big sunflower right there. But they're leaning over and, you know, starting to lose their petals and all of those different things. But we do have some that are still really pretty, like this guy right here. I think this is a chocolate cherry. So yay, a mean old grasshopper there, probably plotting something to nibble on. But most of these have fizzled out and are starting to form seed heads, so I need to cut them down because I don't want to feed rodents. I would love to feed the birds, but with the birds also comes rodents. Like this guy, you can see the seeds starting to form in there, so I want to make sure I get that cut down before it turns into rodent food. But overall, this spot brought so much joy for a few weeks. I'm a little sad to see it go, but circle of life. I'll be able to get this cleaned up and amended and ready for the garlic that will be planted next month in October. So just kind of embracing a season of change and hopefully lots of garlic in my future. All right, the flower bed, the bed of chaos. Okay, so those cover crops are really filling in nicely. Mustard greens, radishes, crimson clover. I'm trying to remember what else I planted in here. A little tiny bit of Takayun buckwheat, but I ran out of seeds, so there's not really a whole lot in here. But the other thing that sprouted amongst all that are these beautiful spider lilies. Now I planted these bulbs last year, and of course they sprouted and bloomed, and they were really beautiful and whimsical and awesome. But as you'll see as we move down the bed, some of them have kind of multiplied a little bit, so there's even more spider lily blooms, and I love them so much. It adds so much whimsy and obviously the color and joy and happiness and all of those beautiful, wonderful, positive things. And we have petunia here, and then my echinacea is blooming, and I thought this was a green twister, but it is not. It is clearly just a regular purple echinacea, which is perfect. That's the medicinal variety, so I'm not disappointed in that at all. I'm going to squat a little bit because bending is hurting. So you can see this one was one bloom last year, and now it is 3. One of them is just starting to open here. This one will open tomorrow or the next day, and this one has been open. There we go. Now they're separated. So 3 distinct blooms from one bulb. Really awesome. So this particular spot has several different plants in it. So we have this, I can't remember, Henry Duelberg salvia. We have zinnias back there. There's basil in here, over there, right there. And then we have these spider lilies, and then we have the echinacea, and then we have the profusion zinnias. There's just so much life and color right here in just this small section. And eventually I would love the whole flower bed to be this bursting with life and color. I'm pretty sure it's gonna look chaotic, but I'm pretty sure I'm gonna love it anyway. So this is the goal to work towards. And some of this is perennial, like the echinacea, spider lily, and the salvia. But obviously the annuals will have to be replanted each year. Then we have this gomphrena. This is such a fun addition. I'm really glad that I planted this. They have like a papery feel to them, very similar to straw flowers, but the shape and the texture and everything adds a nice contrast to the other flowers within the garden. So I will definitely grow this again next year. Also definitely will grow the profusion zinnias again next year. Okay, so the plants I love to hate. No, I don't hate this plant at all. It just hates it doesn't play well with others because it's got all the spikes and stuff on it. But look at all these pumpkin on a stick. That's what this is pumpkin on a stick. It's part of the eggplant family, but it's finally starting to set a lot of those eggplants. So as they ripen, the idea is you remove the leaves and hopefully with that the thorns, and you're left with the orange ripened little eggplants that look like tiny pumpkins along the stem, and you can use it in different floral arrangements as Halloween or fall decor, stuff like that. So I'm excited to see this be a little bit more productive than it was before. I think this one is one of those, like, as fall sets, it's really going to start producing type plants, because you can see there are several of the little eggplants I have set, and I'm being very careful because I don't want to get stabbed. And then down here, it's more of the same. This one is also setting tons of the little eggplants and stuff. And then show you guys the carpenter bee there. This bee just hangs out all day, flittering between all of the different salvias. It really only goes for the purple flowers. So from what it may not be able to see the yellows and oranges, because it only goes towards the purples. So all day long it basically flitters between all of the different salvia plants, because I have 5 back here, so it's pretty happy. More spider lilies. This is 2 bulbs. Sorry, this is 3 bulbs. So there's 1 bulb there, 1 bulb here, and 1 bulb here, and we have all of these flowers, and I love it so much. By next week they won't be here anymore. It's very short-lived, so I'm just trying to enjoy it while I can. But this is also another really full area that has several different things providing life and color and fullness and food for bees. And then down here is just more zinnias and salvia. Marigolds here. This one isn't blooming too much yet, but it's there and it's green. More spider lilies, more cover crops doing their job. And then lilies, my daughter Lily, all of her zinnias are really blooming, and she gets so excited to come out and see them. So lots of joy there. Here is the cowpea green stalk. This has very early in the gardening season for this year, it had lettuce, and all the pockets were growing lettuce, and we had a lot of fresh homegrown salads, and it was delightful. Once it warmed up, I put in cowpeas at the bottom and then bush beans at the top. The bush beans did not do very well, so once they were done, I planted more cowpeas and cream peas in the top tiers where those bush beans were, and there's peas everywhere, all over this thing. It's just peas. Probably harvest that one. That's another purple hole. But there's just peas all over, up high, in the middle, down low. Really happy with this. My running joke is that I'm growing my own luck for 2025, because in the South, the New Year's tradition is to eat black-eyed peas for luck. Cowpeas are essentially black-eyed peas. So that is, I'm growing enough to be able to have on New Year's. My mom and grandma, I will have enough to share with them, and hopefully I can at least get everybody else in the house to take a bite or two of homegrown luck. But really excited that I was able to grow my own luck this year, because I tried last year and didn't do very well. Sometimes you just have to try again. Okay, I'm gonna set this down to kind of talk about the pepper green stalk behind me, because carrying the camera around is putting strain on that spot in my back that I injured. Even though it's not very heavy, it's the constant movement that's kind of aggravating things. So back here is the hot pepper green stalk, and if you can see the whole thing, or at least most of it, it is very lively, very green. There's a ton of peppers on it that are ripe that I need to come through and harvest. Anything from jalapenos to serranos to even cayennes, and some Tabascos on the back side there. So that is also on my to-do list for later today. The kids might actually enjoy this more than harvesting the okra, so we'll see how much work I can get them to do to help me out. But the mystery plant, if you've been watching the last couple of weeks, you'll know I have no idea what this plant is. Most of the peppers on it are now pretty ripe, and they are still all completely different looking. So at this point, I am definitely convinced that it is a cross of two different types of plants. It looks like probably a cross between a bell pepper and a jalapeno. So we'll see what the heat level looks like. Hopefully it's more on the jalapeno end of things. From what I read, the hot genetics will take precedence over the sweet genetics. So I'm hoping that it will be spicy-ish. I know jalapenos aren't very hot, but I'm hoping it'll have a little bit of heat so that I can use it for some salsa and stuff. I'm just gonna turn this a little bit to talk about what's going on over there. Okay, so that grow bag was actually in front of the greenhouse. I moved it the other day to mow and then forgot to move it back. So it's hanging out right there. And then the pink green stalk right here, that is where the strawberries are, and they're doing really well. They're still sending off several runners, so I'm still just kind of spreading those runners out, trying to fill as many pockets as I can. The bulk of the strawberries that are alive are June bearing, so as I keep them alive over the winter, then we ought to have a really good strawberry harvest next year. The bottom tier has ever bearing strawberries in it, and only one pocket right now has strawberries that are alive. So I'm hoping that they'll grow and spread, and I can at least get that bottom tier of ever bearing, because that will kind of extend the strawberry season for us a bit. And then next to the green stalk in the rolling planter there, you will see that I finally got the lime tree transplanted and filled with soil, and it's looking really good and really healthy. And the good thing about this is that I won't have to risk hurting my back trying to get it in or out during cold weather. It's on wheels, so I can just roll it directly into the house there. I set it, we have 2 east facing windows, and I set it in front of those windows, and it gets lots of sunshine, and it's done really well in years past, so I don't foresee it being any different this year. The green stalk on the corner down there, if I can aim correctly, that is the hodgepodge green stalk that has everything from herbs to peppers to okra growing within it. The okra is doing all right. I don't think that I'm going to attempt okra in a green stalk again. It is dwarf variety, so it is more compact, but it just wasn't as prolific as I was hoping. So what I may do with the remainder of the dwarf okra seeds is just kind of plant them throughout the raised bed garden next year. And because they're smaller, they won't have as big of a footprint as those full-sized okras. So, you know, in my quest to grow all of the okra that I can possibly grow, I think that that's what I'm going to try next year. So we'll see. I do need to come in with this green stalk and heavily prune the mint because it is drastically taking over. And the basils are starting to die because they have completely gone to seed. They have dispelled the seeds. They think that their life cycle is done. So they're starting to die off, so I need to go ahead and cut those down. And the peppers on the back side are still there. They're not prolific at all. So I think at this point I'm going to cut them down and just kind of either amend the soil to get something planted in it for fall and winter. I have some tatsoi seeds that I started, so maybe I'll plant those in there, or I can just let it rest over the fall growing season. We will see how that goes. Those petunias over there, those petunias are so happy and so just magnificent. Even with as hot as the temperatures have been, this particular variety has just done so well in the heat. I am not 100% sure if this is a heat tolerant variety. The name of that one is Prism Sunshine. I would assume with sunshine in the name, maybe it is, but it is just so beautiful. And then this one is also blooming, and this one 2 mornings ago had hummingbird at it. I don't know if it's visiting both or what. I just happened to be out here whenever it hit that one, and I was so excited because that was the first hummingbird that I've seen at this house. So obviously I'm going to be planting more hummingbird friendly things. They really adore the color red, so I'll try to get some red petunias up there next season for them. That way they're not having to go down low and risk the dog chasing them. But let me show you guys what's going on with these seedlings that are hardening off. Okay, so the 2 seed starting trays on the left are kale with a buzzy object that probably has a stinger in its butt. I'm going to try not to anger it. And then the 2 on the right there, those are rutabagas. So next week, Tuesday or Wednesday, these 2 trays will be transplanted into that front raised bed of the tomato patch. And then the week after that, the rutabagas will be transplanted into the planter that is between the 2 raised beds along the fence. So lots of future food there. It does look a little bit sad because it is in the direct sunlight right now. The sun moves quickly, so here within about an hour and a half or so, these will be completely in the shade and they will be just fine. So that's why they do look a little bit sad, but they do have plenty of water. They have really healthy soil. Overall, they're doing really great. It's just because it's the heat of the day, or the heat of the sun right now. But that is it for this week's weekly update. There's so much life happening. Everything is looking really lush and really green and really happy. But that's all I have for you guys for this week. If you liked this update and you want to see how the garden progresses from week to week, please like and subscribe and do all those different YouTube-y things because it is greatly helping my channel. But until next time, go find a way to get those garden manicures. Bye!